Hey, um, good morning, girl. Today is the 19th of December, 2018. And oh man, so many things happening now. With the change in the season, the winter solstice is going to be here very soon, the 21st of December. The winter solstice is when we have the longest night time and the shortest day. And so it's getting pretty dark outside in the evenings. And you know what? It's not been bothering me at all, which is great. Um, I'm continuing to live in the evenings and go out and do stuff. Yesterday, I was walking around San Luis Obispo, downtown San Luis Obispo, doing some shopping, and it was wonderful. And you know what? The temperatures have been nice and mild lately too. They haven't been too cold. Sure, I wear a hat and maybe a scarf sometimes when I go out, but it's really not that bad. And so I'm really enjoying this season right now. This fall and winter season, it's surely amazing. Yesterday, when I was in San Luis Obispo, I was enjoying the autumnal colors, the red and orange leaves falling off the trees and just lying on the ground. It's just so beautiful, so picturesque. And I was also enjoying the beautiful full, it was a gibbous moon last night, just so bright and in the sky in the evenings. It's about 5, 6 o'clock, and it's, I would guess, near the apex. It's I'd guess maybe 80 degrees, and it's just beautiful. We are so fortunate, so lucky to live on a planet that is so beautiful. Everywhere we look, it's just continual beauty. The sky, the clouds, the mountains, the plants, the ground, it's just beauty all over. It's really quite stunning. I mean, how fortunate are we to live moment to moment in this life that is just so all around beautiful everywhere? It's really pretty phenomenal. So happy to live in a world like that, where beauty is just so common that it is frequently ignored. I know. It's everywhere. Truly everywhere. Beauty is just everywhere. How did we get so lucky to live a life where there was so much beauty around? I have no idea. I don't know. I'm just glad to be living in it. So, more about the season, the 21st of December, the winter solstice, that's your half birthday. You'll be 14 and a half years old. Congratulations. 14 and a half. That is stunning. I remember when you were 6. Heck, I remember when you were 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and 1 and 0. I remember you when you were 0. Day 1. I remember that very distinctly. And I remember even minus 1 month, minus 2 months, minus 3 months, minus 4 months, minus 5 months old. Is it possible for you to be minus 5 months old? Well, yeah. Since your birthday is the day that we count your age from, clearly anything, any day before your birthday is a minus day, right? Absolutely. So yeah, I'm really enjoying the season. Christmas time is here, and I'm loving all the lights and the Christmas decorations and the Christmas trees. Friends that I visit, I go into their homes and they've got their Christmas trees up with their Christmas tree lights. I'm loving the multicolored lights. These more traditional Christmas trees. I'm not a big fan of the LED lights. They're a little bright for me. But dang, let me tell you, they sure are beautiful. I love how they stand out and just proclaim the beauty of the season. I think it's really wonderful to have these amazing holidays and that they last so long. I mean, I've been celebrating Christmas for the last 2 months. I'm serious. 2 months. And so it's really been great. And not to mention all the food. Holy cow, the food's been amazing. Now, I've been enjoying food at amusement parks lately. I might have mentioned that I went to 2 amusement parks in the last 2 weeks. I went to Universal Studios, Hollywood, and also Disneyland, California. And let me tell you, one of the foods that has really caught my attention has been cake and cake frosting and chocolate chip cookies. And what's great about the season that we're in is that there is frosting everywhere and there's chocolate chip cookies everywhere. And oh man, I am hypnotized by chocolate frosting and chocolate chip cookies right now. I don't know what is going on. I'm just mesmerized by these flavors. And so I'm really excited to, sample some more. Maybe this weekend. I'm looking forward to it. In the past, I haven't eaten a lot of chocolate because I've known it's pretty high calorie food, and it's something that you want to eat in moderation. But I tell you, it's really not easy to do. It's not easy to restrain yourself when chocolate just tastes so good. And here's another thing about chocolate. Chocolate is not necessarily the most vegan food ever. Let me tell you why. It's because most chocolates are milk chocolate, right? And I try to eat vegan. I really do. I really try to eat vegan. And I try to stay away from dairy products. But you know what? The closest that a person can get to, say, a vegan chocolate is dark chocolate. And I love dark chocolate. Dark chocolate is amazing. Thing is, I really like milk chocolate too. So the question is, how do I balance my desire to eat vegan with my recognition that milk chocolate rocks? How do I do that? I know, I don't know how to do it either. And so I'm sort of stuck. I might just have to make an exception. I'm vegan plus chocolate. Vegetarians have these labels. Vegetarian people don't eat meat, but they do eat dairy. Now, there are some exceptions. There are labels such as pesca vegetarian. That's a vegetarian who eats fish too. And then there's a lacto vegetarian. Well, basically that's a duplicate because vegetarians drink milk anyway. And then there's ovo vegetarians. And ovo is a reference to vegetarians eating eggs. So there's pesco, lacto, ovo vegetarians. So basically the label describes what exceptions there are in that person's diet. And, why not? We ought to have something similar for vegans. I'm serious. How about like Choco vegetarian? I'm a Choco vegetarian. Sure, why not? That makes a lot of sense. I might just have to start calling myself a Choco vegetarian. A chocolate chip vegetarian. I don't know. Does that even make any sense? Or a chocolate chip, a Choco vegan? I think I might have to make that exception. Choco vegan. Speaking of veganism, I ran across an amazing discovery, Emily. And that is that Taco Bell now has an app, a smartphone app. And with this app, you can order food through it, pay for that food in advance, and then go pick up the food at the Taco Bell restaurant. Great, very convenient. But here's the thing. Using the smartphone, you could also readily customize the food to your liking. For example, I can make a burrito vegan. I can veganize the burrito by requesting that they don't put cheese or sour cream on the burrito. So this is changing my whole world because, first of all, I love Taco Bell. I just do. I don't know why. I have no idea. Actually, really, what I really love is I love tacos and I love burritos. And the fact is that there's a Taco Bell basically on every street corner, and so I know what I'm getting, and when I go there, and so I appreciate that. I appreciate the consistency. I appreciate the fact that they're everywhere, basically on every street corner, and I also appreciate that they are basically inexpensive. So it's an inexpensive source of tacos and burritos, right? Which I love. I love Mexican food. I love tacos and burritos. I particularly love, well, actually, I love both tacos and burritos. Well, I'm getting excited there. Getting excited. So I found this app where I could customize Taco Bell foods readily and make them vegan. So I am now a super happy camper. That's for sure. Because now I've always been shy about making adjustments to food at fast food restaurants, except for maybe Burger King, because Burger King is a restaurant that essentially built their reputation on being able to customize their food. Like you could ask for a Whopper with no cheese, no big deal, right? Or no mayonnaise. That was a big push that they had like in the 1980s and 1990s. Your ability to customize the food that you order at Burger King. But not every restaurant is as good as has built their reputation on customizing their food. A fast food restaurant chain, that is hard to do, in terms of managing all those changes. And I know McDonald's probably does an amazing job, but when I eat fast food, I tend not to customize it too much. Except, for example, if I'm at a Chipotle or at a Subway, where customizing food is the norm. So when I go to Taco Bell, I tend not to do too much customizing. But now, because I've got this app, I'll be able to customize away. In fact, there are changes that I can make that I'm really excited about. For example, a lot of tacos or burritos have beans in them. And that kind of bean is a pinto bean. And with this app, I can customize the pinto beans by replacing pintos with black beans. So this is amazing because a lot of the pinto beans is a refried pinto bean. And the refried beans typically have lard in them, right? They're fairly high fat because that's what refried beans are. They're essentially a smushed bean that's been fried again with extra lard. Well, I try to eat as healthy as I can, eat as little saturated fat as possible, and the hydrogenated oils of lard are just not my thing. So changing out the pinto beans for black beans is a big deal and can make a burrito or taco significantly more healthy and maybe even more tasteful, in my opinion. So I'm really excited about that. I get to have more tasty food that is vegan, that's convenient, that's low cost. I mean, it's insane. It's fantastic. In fact, I'm just really bursting at the seams with excitement, and I can't wait to try out this app and customize my food, make it more tasty, healthy, vegan, using the smartphone app. So kudos to Taco Bell. They are definitely on the cutting edge of technology, serving their customers. This is great. I mean, this is great for anybody who's got dietary requirements. And a lot of people have them now. A lot of people are trying to eat less dairy or less protein and more fruit and more veg, and everybody's got their little thing that they're doing now to tweak their their diet a little bit, make it a little better for them, right? They're weightlifters. They want more protein. They want extra beans, extra cheese on everything, right? Maybe not extra cheese, but extra beans for higher protein, or extra meat for them. And I remember for a time, I was low carbing. I was doing some low carb or paleo dieting. And I know I had an interest in customizing food, making sure that I had less bread. In fact, on my sandwiches, I would go to Carl's Jr. and I would order the low carb burgers, which I really loved, that are wrapped in lettuce leaves. And so anyway, this era of customizing food at fast food restaurants is really appreciated. Now, here's the thing. I don't eat at restaurants that often. Most of the time, I prepare all my food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner at home. And that's just the way I operate. This is normal for me. In my refrigerator, I've got a lot of pre-prepared foods. For example, on a regular basis, I might pre-prepare baked potatoes. I'll bake them in the oven along with sweet potatoes. And I've also widened out into roasting beets in the oven too. And I'm going to be doing that on a regular basis. I've also been roasting asparagus. And I put those foods in my sack lunch and my boxed dinners. So I also prepare very regularly rice and beans that I have in big pots in my refrigerator. Like on Sundays, I'll just do some batch processing of making some of this food in advance. And then I'll eat that food throughout the week. And this is just what I do. And I've been doing this for a little while now. And I really enjoy it. This is the way to go. I love rice and beans and potatoes. They're my favorite foodstuffs. And I am lucky enough that I get to eat them every day. And I don't have to worry about going to restaurants and spending lots of money on fast food restaurants or whatever. That's a practice that a lot of people engage in our culture. And I'm thankful that I don't have to do that I have enough sense to think ahead and save some money and really eat what I want. It's really about eating what I want to eat and enjoying my food just that much more. So anyway, I'm really pleased about all these transitions and things that are happening in life, all these changes. Things have been going really well. In fact, that has gotten me to think about what 2019 is going to be for me. We're coming up with the New Year's Eve resolution time period, and a lot of people who I'm talking to are coming up with goals that they have for the next year for 2019. And I've got some ideas about what I want my 2019 to be about. Number one, it's going to be about fun, and it's going to be about energy and education. I mean, I already have these ideas down. For example, I'm committing to going to amusement parks more often, maybe as often as once a week. I know, pretty phenomenal. I'm committing to enjoying long walks outdoors at amusement parks, having fun with groups of people who are open to having fun. And just having a blast. I'm looking forward to going to water parks. I have an interest in going to Hurricane Harbor and Knott's Berry Farm. They've got like a splash mountain or something like that. I forget exactly what the water park at Knott's Berry Farm, what their name is, but I'm going to be going to that, I'm certain. And I want to go to I want to go to a lot of water parks this summer. And I'm already planning to go to some like late March, early April. A lot of water parks don't open up until Memorial Day. So that's late May. So that's still 5 months from now. So I've got to figure out what I'm going to do between now and 5 months from now. But so this year, 2019, is going to just be a blast. It's going to be so much fun. I already bought a ticket to go to Lucidity, which is a music and art festival in April, I think. And so I'm already excited to go dancing for 3 days straight at that music festival. I am totally up to doing that. So I mean, already for 2019, here are some things I've got going. I've got amusement parks. I mean, almost on a weekly basis. And then I've got water parks. Yep, starting in May. And then I've got, music festival, at least one music festival. And I might even go to more. And so, I mean, right there, that is a heck of a lot of fun. I'm already committing to going to those very regularly this year in 2019. So I'm going to have a blast. It's all about fun. And not only that, it's about fun and energy. So I work out nearly every day. In fact, I've worked out, 4 days in a row so far? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Oh, no. Today's going to be the 4th day in a row that I work out. I'm thinking about working out for 5 days in a row and eventually working out 7 days in a row. I know. It's too audacious. Too audacious. Is it too audacious? Is it too much for me to ask to work out at the gym every single day? Is that too audacious? So what that is about, that theme of working out regularly, nearly every day, and hopefully to get to everyday workouts, that theme is about energy. And I want to be the Energizer Bunny. I'm going to be out and about and running and swimming and working out at the gym. That is, for me, 2019 is going to be all about energy, harnessing the energy, developing the energy, expressing the energy. Yeah. So we've got the fun, which is the amusement parks, and the music festivals, and we got the energy, which is trying to work out nearly every day, which is phenomenal. And that is breaking a sweat every day at the gym somehow. I mean, that's a phenomenal ask my body to do. So there's fun, energy, and education. These are the 3 prongs of my 2019 plans. Now, what's going on in the realm of education, Miguel? You might be asking. Well, I've already signed up for 2 classes at my local community college: welding and yoga. And so I'm going to be pursuing that 3 days a week, all of the spring semester 2019. And then I definitely intend, I don't know if I intend to take classes this summer. Last year, I went on hiatus. I did not take any summer classes. It sort of depends on what classes are available. I might take a fun class, like a super fun class this summer. Here's the thing about summer classes and me. The reason I don't do summer semesters that much anymore is because they're quite often a lot of work. Quite often they squeeze a whole semester's worth of learning into like 2 months, which is, it's a challenge, because for me, learning is about time. It's about being patient with the material. It's about deep understanding. I'm not into these courses which are just a survey of information. I want to memorize facts and details and data. I want to finish up the class having a storehouse of knowledge that I can tap into afterwards. And but anyway, I'm definitely going to be taking classes the spring semester and then the fall semester of 2019 as well. I haven't really come up with any classes that I might take in the fall semester, I'm thinking about mechatronics. Mechatronics is a class where you basically are assembling robots. Come on, that's awesome. And I might take a photography class and maybe a drawing class. We'll see how it all unfolds. That's still a number of months down the road. That's like 8 months from now. So I haven't got that totally planned out, but I'm definitely planning on taking classes in the fall semester of 2019. So those are my 2019 plans: fun, energy, and learning. And so 2019 is already setting up to be an amazing year. It's totally phenomenal. And if I could just keep this this car rolling, keep this train rolling in this direction. If I get a few more years of this train just picking up steam and getting stronger and stronger without hitting any major roadblocks in health or work or my social world, the future is really lining up to be pretty amazing, pretty incredible. So anyway, on that note, maybe I'll wrap that up and we'll move on to the next segment, which is just a little bit of reading from a textbook. So I've got this textbook. I picked up this textbook. It's called Philosophy, The Power of Ideas, 3rd edition. It's a college textbook in philosophy. It's just Philosophy 101. It might even just be Philosophy 100. And if you know anything about me, I have an interest in not only psychology, but also philosophy. And I love considering ideas of all types, debating ideas, and being creative with ideas. And now I figured I'd just choose a random page and maybe we can discuss something about philosophy. And I just picked up chapter 9. This chapter is about moral philosophy. And there's a small blurb here, a little purple rectangle. It's got some text in it. And I figured we'd read it. We'd read it together and discuss what it has to say. So the question that this passage in this textbook is considering is, in the title, it says, is the objective world value neutral? That's a fascinating question. Let's learn more. According to Plato, the form of the good is the source of all that is real. It is itself real. It is itself real, of course, according to Plato, and moreover, has a reality independent of our minds. In other words, it has objective reality. Many people these days are inclined to think of objective reality as it exists outside our minds and perceptions, as morally neutral. So far as they have considered the issue at all, they regard values as subjective creations of the mind that the mind superimposes on events and objects, which things are themselves neither good nor bad, right nor wrong. It is very, very likely that this is your view. Still, if in fact that the universe as it is in itself is value neutral, this is not a fact that we discovered in the same way that we discovered the principles of physics, chemistry, and biology. Rather, it seems to be something we just believe. Is this belief more correct than the view of Plato, who thought that what is good does not depend on our opinions, but is said by and is inherent in a reality external to our minds? If you think Plato was wrong, how would you establish that? Okay, I believe Plato's wrong. I don't think the good exists in an objective reality at all. I don't think he's talking about any specific thing personally. The question the passage asks us to consider at the end is, if you think Plato was wrong, how would you establish that? Well, I would only ask Plato to produce an example. of an objective good. And I think with basically, I'm asking Plato for evidence, and I'm just asking for one piece of evidence. That's right, a single piece of evidence. And if there is even one piece of evidence that establishes that objective good exists in the world, in the universe somewhere, I would be willing to give that belief some credence. So that was an easy one. That's an easy passage. So it just turns out that what that passage also described about objective reality being neutral, indeed, I believe that that is the case. I do believe that objective reality is quite neutral in terms of a moral standpoint. And I do believe that human beings overlay, the word they used was superimpose our moral beliefs on top of value neutral reality. Something I say all the time to myself is nature is neutral. And that's the meaning that nature is neutral has for me, that the objective world is value neutral. Now, in the passage, they also asked, well, how do we know that the objective world is value neutral? And that is, I guess, an interesting question. You know, it might boil down to the fact of consciousness. It might boil down to the fact, to what, I shouldn't say the fact, but what we think about the world, about matter in the world, is that it is not conscious. You know, I think that only conscious things can have values. And if there's no consciousness in, say, a rock or a stone, I'm not sure how there can be values inherent in the object. I don't think it's possible. So I think, just like a lot of people, that our external reality is made up of building blocks, right? Physical matter that is made of atoms. And those atoms are made of subatomic particles, electrons, protons, neutrons. And those subatomic particles further are made of quarks and gluons and other things. And then there are also other particles, like massless particles, like photons, and there are all kinds of other variations of the particles, like muons and neutrinos that are flying through the air. So all of these things for me are building blocks. I think of them as like Lego blocks, where they can be assembled in different ways and different patterns through chemistry and physics. And I think of them as being completely value neutral. I mean, imagine a photon. You know, I think photons are a thing. You know, they're essentially a field, right? They are, in fact, a combination of two fields, right? A magnetic and electric field. And, you know, are there any values associated with photons? Do photons have a certain affinity for one state of nature over another? Well, they, you know, the speed of light changes in different substances. I wouldn't necessarily call that values. I wouldn't necessarily refer to that as the values that, say, a photon might have. You know, photons just aren't conscious. They don't make decisions, and because of that, they can't have preferences. It's not that they can't have preferences. It's just they don't have preferences because they're not making decisions. You know, photons never die. Do they die? Well, actually, they just change frequency. They change energy levels. And, you know, same is true with atoms, like hydrogen, for example. Hydrogen, I think, can easily be said, doesn't die. It just, as an atom, it reacts with other atoms, and it can be sort of separated into its component parts. And I just don't see any value nature in a hydrogen atom or a photon. I'm not aware of any value nature in these things. And so what that tells me is that at least at that level, there's no consciousness. And so, that is essentially the basis for my belief that the universe doesn't have values. There's no value direction. There's no goal seeking consciousness. Now, there might be what I'd call an inadvertent goal seeking, right? Electrons are always interested in going to the lowest energy level orbits, right? So in a way, that's goal seeking, right? Well, you know what? I don't think so. It's just the way human beings tell the story of science. We use models, and this is basically how we operate. We're continually telling stories, continually assigning, consciousness to objects and things, like the sky wants to rain, but that's a trick of language. I don't think that that's inherent or real. It's not true that the clouds or the skies really want to rain. Skies don't have wants. Bridges don't want to fall, but they do fall. So anyway, very interesting. This whole idea of an objective reality, I think it is important to explore. It's important to understand. I think it's important to understand what human beings bring to the table with our conscious minds and our meaning making and our story building. We bring to the table, our consciousness. We have goals. And the reason is because, we have a choice that's continually in front of us, and that is to live or die. And it is a fundamental choice for human beings. And because of that fundamental choice, we are goal seeking. We are interested in seeking resources to sustain and maintain our human bodies. And for that reason, we have preferences. We have subjective preferences. And we do the best we can to collect the scarce resources of energy and warmth and food, shelter, and clothing, and in order to keep ourselves alive. And it's that which creates our value system. Because we have a fundamental choice about whether to live or die or not. And that's where our preferences come from. It's the source of our preferences. Yeah. Okay. So on that philosophical note, we will shift. We will pivot to another type of another session, another segment that is the Q&A segment. So here, the Q&A segment is where I ask myself some questions, and I'll answer them, and you get to listen in on the conversation I'm having with myself. That's just what's going on, folks. That's just what's going on. And maybe, Emily, you'll get a chance to learn a little bit more about me, understand what my history is, what my experiences are. For me, it's about sort of doing a better job at connecting and helping us understand one another. And I hope that you get a chance to learn a little bit more about me, what makes me tick, what makes me go, just who I am. Okay, next question. Question number 59. Are you most likely to finish your taxes as soon as you receive your W-2s, or as close to April 15th as possible? And how many times have you filed for an extension? Okay, I have. I think I might have filed for an extension one time, and I think the reason was because I was using a tax preparer at the time, and I think I just came in too late, and she was busy, and things didn't get resolved until like a day or two after. So I just I was just a little late in initiating contact with my file tax preparer, you know, and it was no big deal. You know, we made the requests, got the adjustments done, and everything was a-okay. But mostly I tend to be rather rapid when it comes to doing my taxes. And you know what? It really does depend on. Here's the thing: there are a lot more pieces of paper that I need to receive before I do my taxes, before the taxes get done. It's not just about the W-2. There are a lot of other forms that need to come in, and the mail being what it is, and you know, businesses being what they are, sometimes there are delays, and so sometimes I don't get my taxes done as soon as I'd like to, but you know, typically I guess around what, February, mid-February, maybe even early February. But I would think because I'm waiting for some of the tax information to come in, usually it's about mid-February, and I like to get that knocked out. But sometimes um, there are some delays. I get caught up in doing other things, and in fact, lately, the last few years, I have waited probably a little longer than I ought to have, where, you know, I don't really start things up until March. And now I've had good years where I'm like right on top of it, like boom, 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 boom. And you know, maybe this year will be that way. I'm gonna I'm gonna create a goal for 2019 to do my taxes early. um, you know, but I always use a professional tax preparer. Um, I don't do my taxes by myself anymore. They've just become too complicated. The tax law, I don't know if you know this, but the tax law changes nearly every year. They're like, and things are changing. They're always happening. There's like something's going on over here, something's going on over there. That applies, that doesn't apply. I mean, I don't know how these I remember, was it last year? There were some really big changes in the tax code. And I don't know how the IRS can respond. It's amazing. I think they've been struggling to respond in the last few years to all the changes coming down. Yeah. So anyway, I tend to be, I would guess in the middle. You know, I don't do them super early and I don't do them super late. And I did have one experience where I did it a little bit late. But mostly, all the years I've been doing my taxes, I kind of do them either really early or kind of in the middle. Next question. Question number 60. What can your friends predict you will grumble about most? Okay, this is an interesting question. Okay, so my friends, what would my friends predict that I grumble about most? Well, one thing that I grumble about is hiking. I know it sounds strange. Sometimes I don't care to hike. I know. I'm so counterculture. Now, in our culture today, our American culture, there are a lot of people who really enjoy hiking. And I get it. Hiking is amazing. It's fun for many people. And you get to see a lot of landscapes, and it's really quite beautiful. We live in a beautiful world. But recently, in the last few years, I've just sort of shied away from hiking. I just haven't been enthusiastic about it. And so anyway, my friends, they might hear me complain about hiking. What kind of things might they hear me complain about? Well, some of the things that I don't care about hiking are that, well, the possibility of getting lost. And of course, nowadays they've got GPSs and stuff, but I also think of it as kind of isolating. Unless you're going with a big group of people, it's basically just you in the middle of nowhere. And here's the thing: I am a gregarious person. I'm a social person. I like doing things with a group, and 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 so just walking out into the middle of nature for me is not that enjoyable. I'd rather do it with a person or a group of people. And the larger the group of people, the better. So I don't necessarily like the small groups of hiking. Here's another aspect of hiking that I don't care for. When I am out hiking, a lot of people like commune with nature, and for them, it's a sense of quiet and calmness and alone time. You know, sometimes people talk to one another when they hike, but other times, well, it's pretty isolating sometimes. Even when you're with a group of people, you're not necessarily talking to them. And so, anyway, I think that's probably my main beef about it. I guess I'm concerned about some of the safety aspects of it. Like you're sort of out there in the woods and there's not a lot of, what if you get injured or hurt or something out there? And then there's the isolating aspect of it. So that's me grumbling. And you know what? You can tell they're just grumbles. I know. I'll go hiking. Sure, I will. And it's just not something I focus on. It's not something I think a lot about. But there are people who think about going hiking all the time, and that's the number one thing they love to do. And for me, it's just not that stimulating. Now, going to amusement parks with a big group of people, that is stimulating. I'm up for that all day, every day. And to me, and maybe even going to water parks. Yeah, now we're talking. And the larger the group of people, the better. Absolutely. So that's my kind of fun. Going to music festivals with a bunch of people and just dancing like crazy and listening to music and hanging out, that is fun. But just sort of walking as a single person on a trail 10 miles away from civilization, not into it. Just not into it. Okay, next question. Question number 61. Do you prefer keeping the television channel remote in hand or giving it up? Why? Okay, so I don't own a television set, so I don't have a remote control. But I can answer about how I used to operate with the television set. Boy, can I even remember? I mean, it's been almost a decade since I've had a television set. Well, I think I preferred to have the remote control in hand. But here's the thing. And I remember your mom, Sheila, complaining a lot about it, is I tend to be one of those channel surfers where I'll switch from channel to channel, up and down the dial. Click, 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 click. And I remember your mom, Sheila, complaining about how I surf like that a couple times. And I would always be searching for shows that I want to watch. And sometimes I would keep it on a program. Typically, here on television, it's just a fact that there is a lot of low quality programming. And And I think what would happen now is I would just stop watching TV. So TV was never a really satisfying pastime for me. Although that's not to say that TV can't be amazing, because I've had some amazing TV experiences. In fact, I spent a good part of my youth watching television, cartoons, sitcoms, um, and really loving all of those things. And so television was a big part of my life, and I don't discount how valuable it can be as a learning tool, as an experiencing tool, as a way to live a more fulfilled life. Sure. It's just not something I choose to do right now. Okay, next question. Question number 62. How many times a day do you look at yourself in the mirror? This is, I have been thinking about this a little bit, about how much I look in the mirror. And I think I look in the mirror a lot. Like, for example, I go to the gym and I work out. And in fact, I plan to go work out today. And as I work out, I am looking at the mirror at my form. Typically, I'm focused on wanting to make sure that my joints are stationary, right? And then I'm not swinging the weight, adding extra momentum to the weight. I try to make sure that I look like I'm controlling the weight. It takes a lot of focus and a lot of concentration to control a weight that's just about too heavy, right? It's not something that, and the more feedback that you get from your environment about how you're doing, the better your form is, and the less chance you'll injure yourself. So that is a focus I have. That's one of the reasons I look at the mirror a lot in the gym. Now, I don't have an inordinate number of mirrors around me. Like, I don't keep a mirror in my book bag or a mirror in my, I don't keep extra mirrors in places like in my pockets or things like that. I have one mirror in my bedroom that I can look at after I've gotten dressed to make sure that I look okay. And that's it. Of course, I've got mirrors in my car, and I typically use them when I apply sunscreen to my face. Because here's the fact about sunscreen. Sunscreen is the color white. And I have a tendency to really glob on the sunscreen. I really just spread it really thick. And sometimes it gets into my hair and it turns my hair white. And I like to smooth out those places. And sometimes it gets into the small of my ears, the folds of my ears. And instead of having this gunky patch in my ear, I like to smooth that out too before I get out and show my sunscreen face to the world. It's just, for me, looking in the mirror is practical. There's also an aspect of looking in the mirror that is admiring. Here's the fact. I think that people are beautiful. People of all kinds, people of all sorts. They're just so beautiful. Human beings are beautiful. I have a real, I get a lot of pleasure from looking at people because I just think they're just so gorgeous. Just like a person might look at, say, show horses or show animals at an animal fair or something like that, like the 4-H or whatever. Or someone who might look at dogs at dog shows. I mean, dogs are beautiful and amazing, and I just love looking at the amazing creatures that they are. And human beings are the same, and and indeed, I look at myself and marvel at my human body and what it's capable of and its design, and it's really pleasurable. Now, do I look in the mirror more than anybody else? No, I don't think I do. I think there are people who look in the mirror more. I also don't have any close-up mirrors, any mirrors that say magnify my facial features or anything like that. I I I think on some level, I understand that having those mirrors that magnify imperfections in your skin can be kind of addictive and troublesome. I can I can imagine that they can produce uh, tendencies and possibly attitudes about my own appearance and face. So I actually don't have any magnifying mirrors on purpose for that reason. And there's also another sense. When I look at the mirror, I recognize that I myself might think about that my appearance is important, but I actually also think that other people probably don't care as much about my appearance as I do. And that's perfectly okay. I recognize that I recognize what I believe to be is a fact that other people probably care less about my appearance than I care about it. And that's good. For me, that's reassuring. So I can have a bad hair day and nobody cares. Or I can have a bad clothing day and nobody cares. And so I'm glad for that. At least that's my general perspective. I'm not a perfectionist when it comes to appearance. Um, I try to do the best I can at managing and grooming myself. And I do a pretty good job in the amount of time that I've allotted for that practice. It's and I don't spend an inordinate amount of time thinking about it. But how now the question specifically was, how many times do I look in the mirror? Well, here's the thing. I use the restroom like once an hour, once every 2 hours. And typically when I'm washing my hands after having used the restroom, I will look in the mirror. So that's a good six or five, maybe 5 times a day, just with my bathroom breaks throughout the day. And then there's the time in the morning when I'm shaving and brushing my teeth and flossing my teeth. I mean, that's a lot of looks in the mirror. So I'm guessing that I probably look at the mirror maybe 50 times a day. And I'm thinking that that is probably pretty normal. I mean, when I get dressed in the morning, I will also look in the mirror to look at my outfit and make sure that I don't have any buttons unbuttoned or zippers unzipped. I don't know. I think 50 is probably a conservative number of times that I look in the mirror. It really is striking to me to just remember that mirrors haven't existed forever. Mirrors, as we discussed, Emily, in the Origins book, really only came to pass. There were bronze mirrors where the metal was sort of honed and smoothed out enough, even back in Egyptian times, and certainly in ancient Greek times, they had mirrors that were just brushed metal. But the real mirrors like silver-backed glass mirrors, really didn't start getting produced until the mid 1800s. And so only now have we reached a point in our technology where mirrors reflect an accurate image instead of an image that's distorted by the waves in the glass or the color in the metal. Bronze, after all, is a yellowish tinged metal. And so I don't know. We really live in an amazing golden age of technology, and I think mirrors are a big part of that. I really do think mirrors are amazing and incredible, and I think they give us insight into ourselves, into our development as people. And yeah, they're very simple technology. I think they are a very deep technology that has philosophical and psychological implications. I'm kind of curious about how mirrors have shaped our culture. What would people be like if they just didn't have mirrors? Or maybe they only had the bronze mirrors that the Egyptians and ancient Greeks had. the ancient Egyptians and the ancient Greeks. You know, I don't, I, you know, a lot of our culture is visually based, right? There's a lot of visual focus on appearance, and you know, that probably all exists because the mirror exists. And you know, also, it's not only mirrors, but today with technology, it's video technology, you know, cameras, um, things like that. Anyway, Emily, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start wrapping things up. But I wanted to spend some time reminding you and reminding myself about why I'm doing this. You know, for me, this time that I have with you, this is, for me, it's a one-on-one time. It's FaceTime that I have with you. You know, I honestly don't get to have a lot of FaceTime with you. And I hope that in the future that will change and that we'll be able to spend more time communing with one another. And until that day, until that time in the future, I'm open to using technology to help bridge the gap between us, sort of bridge this separation. And and I'm just really grateful that the technology exists to allow this special type of communion between us to happen. You know, we live in an amazing technological age when using technology like this video technology, I can distort time and space and reach across across these boundaries, these barriers that we have between us, um, and at least have a hope of communicating with you. And you know, that's pretty much how I operate as a person. For me, it's all about hope and making investments in time and energy in my relationships. And I'm willing to make that commitment to build goodwill and to build relationships through information exchange and learning and just sort of the magic of being with another person. And because I still believe in that. I still believe that there's hope between us. And I'm always continually reaching out and you know and you know I'm hopeful about what's possible. I actually think that there's a lot that's possible between us. I think that we have the potential, you and I have the potential to have an amazing relationship, one that really nurtures each other and warms each other. I think we have the ability to bask in each other's attention and consciousness, and I think it's worthwhile. I think it's important and significant, and for me, it's really meaningful. You know, and it's just you know, it's really just part of who I am. It's part of my makeup. I'm a connector. I'm a connector, a creator, a creative force. You know, an energy that is just focused on intimacy and authenticity and um, working off script in and enhancing and improving communication, you know, with greater empathy and warmth and care and kindness and peace. And you know, that's just what I am. That's just who I am. And I'm really pleased. You know, I am pleased to share myself in this way with you. And you know, I'm really optimistic about the future. I think we're moving in the good direction. I think the trends are looking up, and you know, really, what I'm doing is just an expression of my love for you, my regard for who you are, and, just sort of my positive hope about what's possible. And I want you to know that I love you just the way you are, that I'm committed to our relationship, and that it is a primary focus of mine. And I'm here to support you in any way that I can. Uh, I'm here to support you through my money, through my time, through my energy, through my creativity, and my ideas. And I'm here to essentially be an advocate for your needs and your desires and your wishes, and to help give you a boost, give you the boost that you need. And maybe not need, maybe you don't necessarily need a boost from me, but I want you to know that I'd be happy to offer it to you, um, uh, if you're willing to accept it. And, with that, I can only say just how much I love you, and how I love you just the way you are. That it is deeply true that there's no need to change for me, and that uh, I have a deep, sincere, earnest interest in seeing you unfold as authentically as possible. I want you to be you, and but for me, I think of it as a privilege to watch you unfold, to watch you grow and leave the nest and fly off. And for me, seeing you act autonomously and with greater and greater freedom every subsequent year, that is a pleasure in and of itself. And and you know me, I can just go on and on and on. But thank you, Emily, and thank you for all that you've given to me, all the meaning that you give to me. And you've given me these gifts of yourself almost unconsciously, almost inadvertently. You've given me these things, and I just want to say thank you for gifting me that part of you. All right. Have a good one. I love you, girl. Have a wonderful day. Peace.